We have seen you defend the citizens of Elkhart County, like with the raw milk and the sewer system incidents. Do you feel that because of your job you are obligated to do this type of defending, or is this just the right thing for you to do for your fellow American?
Well, I believe that both. I think that there's an obligation in the sense that the position I'm in, it's a unique position because not only am I elected, but I have law enforcement authority. And, I carry a gun and put people in jail. And I don't mean that in a pompous sort of way, but it's a unique position. So you have the county commissioners who say, we're not going to dig here for the sewer issue because when you dig the sewer up, you're going to create a public health hazard. It's over dispute over sewer fees and what, and I don't even know who's right or wrong on that. That's not really my call. But when government gets involved and creates a hazard in and of themselves for the people that the government's going to have to turn around and correct anyways, it seems that the government should protect the people from government, and sometimes that's what I aim to do. And so call it tyranny, call it whatever you want, but in the sewer example is we were going to have people get their sewers disconnected. They had no alternatives. There was no except for a porta potty in their front yard. And so it's one of those things that, I wasn't planning on making any arrests or, arresting utility people or anything. I'm just going to park my car on top of the sewer disconnect, and they're not going to disconnect it. So and that was for the people, because the way they're doing this is not the right way. The way, if the government is correct, and they very well may be, then they should put a lien on somebody's house. They can take them to court, due process, not just a notice of letter of disconnect. I'm even familiar with Chicago and big city. I don't know of any time that anybody's got their sewer disconnected. They may shut water off, they may shut electric off, but sewer, that's a pretty drastic thing and not acceptable in this society. So that's an example. And then with the raw milk deal, again, it's government overreach. I work for the government. I'm in the executive branch of the government, this government, and so I have to abide by the Constitution. I have to abide by the Fourth Amendment, unreasonable searches and seizures. Now, it doesn't say all searches and seizures, just unreasonable ones. Mm-hmm. So we have, typically through court hearings and just reasonable standards that allow police officers to do searches without warrants because they're reasonable. For example, if your house is on fire and I come across it and I see smoke billowing out of it, I'm not going to, nobody expects me to go get a warrant to kick the door in and say, anybody in here, and try to rescue somebody, and then all of a sudden I see pot plants all over the place, or drugs or illegal guns, I don't know, whatever it is that I could see. No, that's exigent circumstances, and it was a reasonable search. So it's, I go back to the government has to abide by the Fourth Amendment. Well, then we enter this bureaucracy of federal government that is created often by Congress itself, but and they have these regulations and vexations out there that all of a sudden they say, we're going to just search anywhere we darn well good and please. And I disagree with that. And so when we had an Amish farmer who incidentally distributes raw milk, never met this guy before ever. He called me up, asked to meet with me. I told the federal government, who kept sending FDA agents to his farm to inspect it because they didn't like him delivering raw milk. Nobody was getting sick that there was evidence of. He was a peaceful man, not doing anything wrong in my opinion. And I personally don't drink raw milk, but I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And so my job was to say, okay, federal government, you need to back off. The only time you come back here is if you have a warrant based on probable cause, signed by a judge, and then you can come back. But until you have that, if you come back without it, I'm going to arrest you for trespass or remove you from the premises. And that was December 1st, 2011, and they haven't been back since. So it goes to show you that, and there was no confrontation, there was no physical confrontation, there was no shooting, there was no shouting, it was a sheriff who, standing on the principles of the Fourth Amendment, the Constitution, protecting his people, a person that doesn't even vote, protecting his people from the intrusion of federal government, and that's what I believe. I had no agenda except to uphold the oath of office and to protect people in our county. Interestingly enough, a couple of days later, he got a certified letter saying that he was released from his subpoena to appear in Michigan before a grand jury, and again, they haven't been back. So that was all occurred through email and through the internet. Never once was there a physical confrontation. Because again, as I reiterate, I'm not looking for a fight with the federal government if they're in their place. And I cooperate with the federal government daily. FBI, Secret Service, Immigration, U.S. Marshals, I cooperate with them as long as they're in their place.
Okay, well, let's throw something out there on that. What has happened, and this is, I guess, an opinionated statement. Why is it I personally, and I'm sure Tim personally, and you may personally in your own personal life have run into this debate or argument, why is it when someone like you, who is a constitutionalist, a defender of liberty, essentially, that's what it comes down to. Okay, I live that way. I live my life and my belief of the law by the Constitution. Tim does. You do. Okay? How did suddenly we become anti-government when we support the most supreme form of government?
Well, you mean the perception is that we're anti-government.
Correct.
Right.
Well, that's a natural progression of those who think that government is here to solve everybody's problems, is that we're anti-government. The constitutional founders were anti-government. They were for limited government, but they set up the government by the people, for the people, and government gets their authority from the people with permission. And so it's all a part of that, and it's this is 10 years after the Constitution was written or established. The Alien and Sedition Act came into play, and if you've never done any research on that, it talked about saying bad things about the president that you could be jailed for. 10 years. It took only 10 years for it to go to that level. So this has been an ongoing fight for the couple hundred years, and that's why the oath of office needs to be reminded, rebuilt up, and instituted as very important. I've had numerous people tell me, in county elected officials, who said, because of the example you set, I've thought more about this Constitution thing, and about how I've taken that oath of office too, and what that means in my position. And I've had others say, that's the gutsiest thing I've ever seen you do with the federal government, because at least we've kicked doors in, guns blazing and bullets flying, and we've done a lot of officers here have done a lot of brave things, and yet some think that confrontation with the federal government, so to speak, was a brave thing. I didn't think it was a big deal. You look on the internet, I'm some type of a folk hero, but I don't consider myself one. I'm just doing my job, and quite frankly, it's I'll do it again. And there's things going on out there right now that I don't know about. IRS issues, EPA, other things. Stay tuned. We're going to see more. I don't know what's next, but there'll be more.
Okay, well, you wanna run with the next one then?
All right, yeah, it's a good segue. What are your views on the current NSA, IRS, and Benghazi scandals that are going on in Washington, D.C.?
Well, I can tell you that regardless of the political office, whether it was a Democrat or Republican in office, these type of scandals are just notorious. I mean, it's incredible. The issue here is, as sheriff, what can you do about it? Can I keep them from hacking into my computer? I don't know. Maybe, I don't know, I just don't know. They'd be bored to tears if they were listening to my phone calls, but this is a fight for the American people that if they acquiesce to this, it is a slippery slope, and it is a free fall into tyranny and peace and safety. I can't remember. I think Benjamin Franklin talked about that. Those who want peace and safety, they deserve neither. If they're sacrificing liberty, and that's what we've gotten into. Anything from the TSA to I'm just glad I don't have an airport in my county, because I'd probably have to run the TSA off. But anyways, that's the IRS. They don't have the IRS is the only government agency, by and large, the FDA may be another one, that thinks they don't have to abide by the Fourth Amendment. And I'm telling you, it's going to come to a head. And I don't know if it's going to be in this county or others, but we have sheriffs throughout this nation, and there's about 3,100 of them in this nation, that have just about had enough. And the gun crisis was probably the biggest thing to stir people up, because that's worse than probably anything that's ever happened as far as liberty movement and threatening the liberty ideas, something so fundamental to us. And so in Benghazi, I just wish that we had the president that was the candidate who said, I'm going to be transparent, I'm going to be open, I'm going to protect liberties, and I'm going to abide by the Constitution. That candidate in 2007 said some great things, but he's not doing it today. And I respect the office of president, and the president's been in this county a number of times, and we have cooperated with and worked with Secret Service to keep him safe when he was here.
Okay. Do you want to expand on that any? No?
I guess in short, I can't help Benghazi. I can't help the situation. I can't help NSA. I can't. This is a federal issue. This is those congressmen and representatives in Washington need to be reminded of their oath of office and what that means. But I sometimes think that the environment there is almost check your mind at the door, and it's unfortunate.
Well, so you, as you said earlier, you agree that if the American people don't stand up and hold the politicians accountable for the NSA, the IRS, Benghazi scheme, we're going to go down a very bad road.
Oh yeah, and I don't, and you go back to President Bush. A lot of this stuff was started under President Bush. TSA, the NSA, things like that. And not bashing the president. I'm just saying that we as Americans need to look, regardless of Democrat or Republican, we need to look at liberty issues relative to the Constitution. We're losing it. And firearms, privacy, freedom of speech, all those are flying out the window very fast. And I fear for our republic. I'm only one person that can do a very limited number of things. And if we the people, that's, will put up with it and continue this course, I don't know that we can come out of it.